March 29th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mrs. Cerrucci.
Here.
Mr. Gottman.
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Here.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here. Comments from residents on agenda items. Does anybody wish to address us this evening on agenda items? Seeing none. Section A, minutes of previous meetings. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cerrucci, second by Mr. McIntyre. Questions or comments on Section A? Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, Bonnie?
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section B, bills, financial reports, budget transfers. Mr. Schott.
Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approve Sections B1 list of bills, B2 monthly financial statements, and B3 budget transfers as listed in Section B at the Thursday, March 29th, 2018 regular board meeting.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gottman, second by Ms. Cerrucci. Questions or comments on Section B? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Bonnie?
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Motion carried. Section D, personnel agenda. Ms. Trump.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 5 as listed in Section D for the regular voting meeting on Thursday, 29th, 2018. We do have some additions since the agenda meeting. Under resignations, we have 4. There are 2 that we want to call attention to. Last week we recognized James Lombardo for his 25 years of service. We also this time are adding Betty Slacker. Betty has been with us for over 32 years and she will be retiring in August, and we wish both of them the best and thank them for their service. Under Section 2 for leaves of absence, we have 11 listed with 5 new being denoted by asterisks. Transfers per the collective bargaining agreement. Section 4 supplemental contracts. And Section 5 volunteers, we did add 2 additional volunteers to the list.
Questions or comments on Section D?
I just have one comment.
We need a motion.
With Elaine Ring, I worked with her for a while over at University Park. I wish her the best of luck, and with Betty Slacker, same with her.
We have a motion to approve Section D.
So moved.
Second. Anybody?
Second.
Mr. McIntyre, second by Ms. Cerrucci. Any other questions or comments? We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Section E, conference and conventions.
Mr. Rossi.
Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the following conferences and conventions as listed in Section E.
And I believe we made that change. Was that Mr. O'Donnell that requested the initials?
What was that?
Spelling out of what the conferences were?
Yes. There you go.
Sorry, yes.
They listen to you.
They do on occasion.
I have a motion.
So moved.
I said it first. Second.
Moved by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Kalkstein. Comments or questions? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Motion carries. Section F, administrative resolutions.
Items number 1 through, I believe, 5. Dr. Russell, get to that.
Item number 1, we have facility rentals, Gateway Marching Band and the Timberitzins. Item number 2, a couple overnight excursions. Item number 3, student teachers for the fall of 2018. And I believe you-
I have the next one.
No,
Next
I'm
one's
sorry.
up short, yeah, no problem. Item number 4 is the approve the extension of the preventive maintenance service agreement for the 2 high school weight rooms and the 1 Gateway Middle School weight room with G&G Fitness Equipment, Inc., in the amount of $2,600 for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30, 2019, as depicted in Exhibit A. Item number 5 is to accept the following district donation received during the current 17-18 fiscal year, specifically donation from Action for Healthy Kids, acquired through Dr. Emily Levine, teacher at Dr. Cleveland Stewart Junior Elementary School, in the amount of $100, and that's for the encouragement of healthy habits for students. Next item is item number 6, is to approve the award of the bid for district-wide refuse collection and recycling services at the district's various building locations to Waste Management of Pennsylvania Incorporated for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2023, at the following amounts listed below and also as depicted in Exhibit B. Item number 7, approve the advertisement of the district's milk bid for the milk services and related food items for the district's food service department during the upcoming 2018-2019 fiscal year. Next item is number 8, followed by also number 9, number 10, where all 3 were added after study session agenda. Item number 8 is to approve the renewal of the 5-year charter for the Spectrum Charter School, Inc., for the period July 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2019, as depicted in Exhibit C. Please note that the above 5-year renewal was previously approved by the board on October 29, 2014. The end date of the 5-year period in the original resolution was incorrectly listed as December 31st, 2020, instead of correctly listed as December 31st, 2019, which was depicted in the previous accompanying exhibit. Item number 9 is the approval of the Eastern Area Special Schools Joint Committee mail ballot and elected officers of the Joint Board of School Directors as depicted below and as depicted in Exhibit D. And finally, item number 10, approval of the following school board director has been nominated to serve as a school board trustee for a 2-year period effective April 30th, 2018 for the Eastern Region of the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium. That's depicted below and also depicted in Exhibit E.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gottman, second by Mr. McIntyre. Questions or comments on Section F?
Just a quick question, Mr. Schott, about the facility rentals. And maybe Mr. Brown might actually be able to answer this as well. We've been in communication about, there's a certain classification of rentals that we're wanting to review the policy on.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that neither one of these fall under that same classification.
No.
Okay, just making sure we're not cherry picking and going one way or another. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I got one question. It's for section 6 for the refuse. If we're currently, I may have missed something here, but if we're currently paying Republic Services $3,400 a month and going with Waste Management, the first payment is like $300 more, how is that a better deal than sticking with Republic?
Well, Republic came in at over $5,000 in their bid.
Oh.
Significantly higher, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I was actually kind of surprised myself, quite honestly. I really wasn't expecting that much of an increase for that when we put the bid out on the street, so.
This basically comes down, this is the lowest responsible.
That was exactly right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's a very good question.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. O'Donnell?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yeah, I know.
Any resolutions from board members this evening? Comments from residents on non-agenda items. We have one person who called in advance to speak, Mr. Gallagher. Scott Gallagher.
going to speak
Excuse me,
on.
Slut's not here, but he's called me to speak on his behalf, if I may.
Please just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Reverend David Morse, Monroeville resident living in Garden City. I'm here on behalf of the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium to read a statement that Dr. Gallagher has primarily written but circulated to other members of the ministerium. There are, incidentally, this is Maundy, Thursday, so most of our Christian pastors who are members of the ministerium cannot be here this evening. But I would ask that if there are any members of the ministerium here who have subscribed to this statement on behalf of Rabbi Barbara Simons, they would stand while I read that. This is the statement that I'm prepared to read for you. On February 27th, 2018, following the community meeting concerning the rezoning of the Gateway Middle School, Rabbi Barbara Simons entered into a conversation with Mr. Steve O'Donnell, Mr. Scott Williams, and another director, all of whom were speaking in a, quote, official capacity as a school board director, unquote. During the course of the conversation, Mr. O'Donnell referred to Rabbi Barbara as Barb. Again, this is first person being drafted by Dr. Gallagher. I'm unsure why he chose not to respect Rabbi Barbara's position as a leader in the community, but he did not offer her the same respect that he has given myself and other male clergy with whom he has been in conversation. Secondly, in the middle of the conversation, Mr. O'Donnell stated, quote, "Did you know that you have a thing on your head?" End quote. Offense was rightly taken by Rabbi Barbara. However, rather than rebuking Mr. O'Donnell, she chose not to dignify this comment. Mr. O'Donnell then acknowledged that he had said something stupid and that Rabbi Barbara should say so. Again, Rabbi Barbara refrained from dialogue and moved on. Mr. O'Donnell later in the conversation asked again, and I quote, "Do you know that you have something on your head?" End quote. Mr. O'Donnell, the members of Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium would like to state our disappointment in your actions as an elected official. First, you did not show our colleague, a well-known and respected leader in the community, and the president of the ministerium, the respect she so very much deserved, by referring to her simply as Barb. Secondly, we, the members of the Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium, request and indeed demand a public apology by you for your anti-Semitic questions in reference to Reverend Barbara's kippah. That's the headgear she was apparently wearing. Statements like these are unacceptable by any person, and especially from an elected official. We further ask that the other directors who were present also that they issue an apology for their complicit silence in that events of that evening. We treasure the diversity in Monroeville, the diversity of the Gateway School District, and expect our elected officials to treasure and respect this diversity also. Your language and silence that night are inexcusable. Your lack of responding to Rabbi Simon's letter in reference to this offense, which was dated March 13th, 2018, is disappointing, to say the least. If you find your actions that night not deserving of a sincere and public apology for your public comments and actions, then this should be a question to your fitness to serve as a school board director in a highly diverse community. Sincerely, the members of Monroeville Interfaith Ministerium. And if I may, sir, I'd like to add a personal word. I think it's possible, Mr. O'Donnell, you may want to choose to deny that this occurred. But notwithstanding that, if it did, I want to register my own personal disappointment. An assault, and indeed an insult, to any one of our religions is an insult to all of our religious faith. There are statements that are sometimes conceived to be humorous, and we all understand that, but that's very contextual. There are a number of things that touch deeply on the identity of each of us as persons. Race, gender, ethnicity, and certainly our faith are among those matters. And when someone chooses to do something that demeans any one of those categories, it demeans all of us. And so, speaking not on behalf of the ministerium, but speaking as Reverend David Morse, a 22-year member of this community, I am sincerely disappointed in you, the official leaders, who would be a part of something like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time on non-agenda items?
I haven't signed anything. So
That's okay, just come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
This may have been asked of you before. I haven't been to a school board meeting for many years. My children are now in their 40s and 50s, so I'm just winging it here. Recently, I have 13 grandchildren who 10 of these go to Gateway. And I've been at many school functions and events that over the years, and I've always gone and everyone has enjoyed them. But recently, the fee to entrance has been raised to $6. It started last year. And I understand that it is to help offset the expense of the events that the children are participating in. But I also noticed that there's at least a 50% drop in attendance at these events now. Football, no. Basketball, no. But swimming, there are so many seats in the stands, you wouldn't believe it. Volleyball, same thing. Just the events are just not being attended. And I think that you're really shooting yourself in the foot when you raise the price that high, because then people just don't come and you don't get the money anyway. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I get in free, by the way, because I'm a senior citizen, so thank you for that.
Anybody else at this time wish to address the board?
Good evening, my name is Madeline Hedrola. I'm a resident of Monroeville, over on Thomas Street. Scotty, I haven't been up here for a few years, I thought. But I was compelled to come because I did work here for a short period of time, if you recall, and have always been involved in the Gateway School District's community as a parent and as a supporter of Gateway. My husband's an actual graduate, of which there are a few. But I'm here because I would like to know how your negotiations are commencing. I'm concerned that our teachers may have to go on strike to have a dialogue with the administration and the school board. I'm concerned that the chief negotiators making comments on Facebook about their commitment to the children, which I think our teachers have demonstrated time and time again. They've worked without a contract for years. I know that. I don't know exactly how many years. I think something like 5 or 6. But I think they're due the respect of more than a cost of living increase. And I'm here to ask that you enter into good faith negotiations and get the contract settled. I realize that they make a good wage. They deserve a good wage. Good teachers make for good communities and good schools. Look at the wages of the communities around us. And I'm talking about comparable schools that we want to be like, not just ones that have an income. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
This time, anybody else wish to address the board on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll have administrative and board reports. Start with Mr. Rossi, Dr. Rossi.
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Schott,
Nothing further, thank you.
Ms. Crump.
Nothing at this time, but we'd like to thank whoever got us shirts. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dice,
Nothing further.
Mr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. A couple of items. First and foremost, congratulations to our student athletes, Olivia Livingstone, who won a gold medal recently at the PIAA swim competition. It's exciting to see that she has, I guess, followed up her gold medal award from her freshman year into her sophomore year. So congratulations to her. Also, to our constituents out there, look for the second edition of our Gateway to Education magazine that should be out in another week. We are doing a final proof, and it should be available and will be in local businesses throughout the communities. In response to Madeline and your comments regarding the negotiations, without question, this board is committed to the ongoing negotiation in full effort with our GEA, Gateway Education Association. It's pretty safe to say that we had a session this past Monday, and Tuesday. Why do I keep saying Monday?
Next week it's Monday.
Next week it's Monday, and we are going to continue our conversations with that. And as with everything, we try to be respectful of everyone during this process. And I think we are moving in the proper direction with that. So that is my comment to our community as well as our teachers.
And if I can just add, I'm the head of the negotiations committee. I haven't commented on social media about the negotiations at all. I think you're talking about a former board member. Nobody on this committee or on this school board has violated our agreement with the GEA. However, the GEA, I cannot say so much for that. So we are going to continue to negotiate in good faith, and we all hope that we can come to an agreement that's mutually beneficial for the district, the teachers, the students, and the taxpayers. Thank you.
Board reports, Dr. Kelstein.
Nothing further at this time.
Trotman.
Yeah, we'll do two things. One, our artwork behind me looks like it's from several different schools, between Ramsey, University Park, Montessori Middle. Those are screenshots of everything that the students have been doing this year, and I would just, if you have a moment at the end of the meeting, take a look, because there's a lot going on, a lot of great artwork that is being made. And the other part is this weekend we have both Easter and Passover. It's actually kind of unique because they both fall at the same time, so it's a little historical relevance. Am I allowed to ask the audience one question? Or okay, Rabbi Simon, is there anything, because the two holidays are falling together at the same time, is there anything that both the synagogues and the churches are doing special for this, since it doesn't happen too often?
Well, it happens fairly often, in ways, because Easter, which probably Reverend Morton is very, but Easter has to do with the equinox, and then having the lunar month after, and then the Sunday after that, right? But
I'm sorry, I was born and raised Catholic, and I still can't figure out that formula.
Rabbi.
So Passover
Rabbi,
is at the lunar.
could you please go up to the podium so everybody can hear you?
Answer this?
Yeah, so for the folks watching at home.
I'll do my best.
Jesus is the Passover lamb to us Christians.
So often they do intersect, and the reason is that on the Christian calendar, that which usually I'm not asked to respond to the Christian calendar, but after the equinox and then the next new moon, it's the next Sunday after that. And so in Judaism, it's always the full moon of that month after. So sometimes they do overlap. There are times that we certainly do programming together. One of the wonderful things about the Interfaith Ministerium is when we do that. So for example, last year on this day, I was over at Monroeville United Methodist Church to help them understand Passover's observances and Seder on Monday, Thursday. So it's very powerful to be able to share that. So we do share that. We often have ministers at our Seder table so that we can share that way and teach with one another. That's what diversity is, right? As we speak about this. This is how we can celebrate what this community is. So it is interesting that they overlap, and the more that we can learn about one another, the better. So for example, for any of you who have colleagues or teachers who have students coming in bringing matzah, maybe this whole week, maybe you ask them about why it is that they're eating matzah and all of that. Because biblically we're commanded that we are not supposed to own any leaven in our homes. And so we completely clear that out, those of us who observe, and eat only foods that don't have leaven in them. But it's, again, an opportunity for learning about and appreciating and respecting one another. Thank you for asking.
So, yeah, those are celebrating. Please enjoy the holidays. And That's it.
McIntyre.
I hadn't actually planned on saying anything in my report, but just to respond to the comment about entering in good faith. I can't speak for previous boards or previous negotiations. What I can say with absolute certainty is that this board and this negotiating team has done nothing but negotiate in good faith and done our due diligence and worked. We've been working very hard to come to an agreement with the teachers, and I think we're all confident that moving forward that we're eventually going to find that. Thank you.
Mr. Ritter.
Sure. I was wondering, we had an administrative action agenda item on Tuesday, March 20th that was added late. I went out 2 days before the meeting and I downloaded it, and then 2 days later, the day of the meeting, item number 2 showed up, which was advertising advertising the sale of the Gateway Middle School. So I was sort of caught off guard by it. So my question is, do we have a protocol whereby we need to get those proposed resolutions into the agenda 7 days before we actually vote on that? Does that only apply to board?
That's board
motions?
resolutions
Or
only.
administrative actions. So it's okay that I was surprised by that.
Yes.
I think we handled it pretty well, but a little advance notice would have helped, poor John. So that's number 1. Number 2, the intergovernmental meeting of February 27th, 2018 has been playing on the local cable access station for a good while. The meeting is also recorded and posted to the website, so anybody can download that and play it again and again. We also have the most recent Budget and Finance Committee meeting. We're trying to develop a protocol where the public meetings are more accessible to the public. So please help us out, public, to find out, are these recordings helpful to you? Are you able to find them on the website? Are you able to download it? Are you able to hear the words when spoken? When people speak in the background, do you have to turn your TV up and then down real quick to get to it? So help us to know how best to engage you with this. Number 3, April 16th, I believe it is, 2018, the Pennsylvania School Board Association Advocacy Day will be held in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I am our liaison to the PSBA, so I am going to go out and knock on the legislators' doors and tell them who we are, what we're thinking about, and what they can do to help us out. So I think that's about it. That's my report.
Thank you, John.
John, I do get complaints about the sound, that they have to really turn their TVs up loud to get the sound.
Tell you what, I was a sound engineer for a rock and roll band for a while. It's very, very difficult to get the sound right, especially when you have a lot of people in a given room, the distance to the microphone, people's volume. Sometimes you get tired, you lean back. So, I understand how difficult it is to get great sound.
That's the
So
only,
my heart goes out to the people doing the recording here. It's just hard to do.
that's the complaint I get. Mr. Lapsevich.
Thank you. I had one issue, but now I have another issue. To Rabbi Barber, you got my deepest apology if one of my colleagues presented himself with the language that he did about your attire, a religious attire, and myself personally, for myself, I apologize to you. Okay, secondly, I'm a part of the athletic committee, and I attend all the sporting events that I can, most of them, all of them. Then I realized one evening there was a hockey game going on a Sunday evening. So I ran into the shower, got dressed, went over to the, into Delmont, the arena. When I was walking in, I seen Gateway Gators hockey, which made me proud. I walked into the arena, they had Gateway hockey all over the place. I watched the game, the kids were having a lot of fun, they played with heart, and they were enjoying themselves. Until I realized some of their jerseys, they were tattered, they were stained, and they had Gateway Gators on them, on the uniforms. It appalled me. Then I went around trying to find how old these uniforms were. The last uniforms were bought 12 years ago. Okay, I understand it's not recognized by the PIAA, and we also give them a $5,000 allowance every year, but they're also working on a $40,000 balance every year. Plus, they've been organized since about 1972, doing this all on their own. I, as a school board member and also on the athletic committee, I researched how much these jerseys would cost us as taxpayers, which count 40 jerseys, approximately $65 a piece. For home jerseys and away jerseys, approximately cost around $2,600 for these kids who are proud of wearing them as a Gateway Gator. I feel in my heart, I don't know if Mr. Short or Mr. Vesky has it in their budget, even though it's not a PIAA event, they're still representing me as a Gateway Gator. I would appreciate it if someone would find $2,600, no matter where it is, in their budget, or the board will have to find it for these children because they're representing Gateway. Thank you. And I have some of the jerseys they were wearing. I could pass them around. They're tattered, they're stained, everything else. It's embarrassing to me. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Ms. Warden?
Yes, just to start off with, just a reminder, there's no school tomorrow due to the holiday break, but there will be school Monday as a makeup day from the snow that we had off. I want to congratulate our girls bowling team. They finished second in Western Pennsylvania, and also they finished 11th in the state. And those girls were Danielle Taylor, Chrissy Smith, Marissa Majewiski, Tiffany Wilkinson, Julie Conley, Julia Ritzel, and Vicki Huff. And congratulations to their coach, Joe Bauman. Another issue that had come up that we had talked about was our computer sales. We did advertise the computer sales to go out to the residents of Monroeville and Pitcairn. It was placed into the local, all the papers, Post-Gazette and Tribune, Greensburg Tribune. We got no takers on it. No one responded to it, so I am going to ask the board if it is okay for Mr. Michael Brown to put out a blast to our students and staff for the sale of these items, because they would like to get rid of them before they get any older. And since no one did respond to our ads, I'm looking to have it approved by the board that he can put out a blast for sale.
Are you making a motion now?
I'm going to make a motion now.
I think, given the history here, a motion's in order.
Okay.
So a motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Well, do we have,
Motion by
No, discussion.
Val, second by Steve.
do we have an upcoming event where other items are going to be placed for sale so that we could put these items in with those items?
Well, I think we'd have to advertise through the Post-Gazette and everything.
For any new items.
For any new items, and then do the other.
Like tractors or, you know,
No, Mr. Brown says
tables?
no.
I mean, just,
He's shaking his
it's
head no.
just these pieces of equipment then?
Right.
Okay.
Are there any questions or comments? We have a roll call, Bonnie?
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Also, we have a student, William Wren. He placed second in the chair cello at the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association Western Region. He's the left half of the state of PA. Orchestra Festival in Sharon, PA. William was able to advance to the regionals by winning the principal cello seat at the PMEA District Orchestra, which are 5 counties in the Pittsburgh Region Festival, which was hosted at Gateway. Because of his elite placement, William qualified for the PMEA All-State Orchestra, consisting of the best high school orchestra musicians in the state. Unfortunately, William will have to decline his spot at the state because he is committed to being in the Gateway High School production Fiddler on the Roof, where he serves as one of the leads. But I just wanted to send the district's congratulations out to him and to Mr. Persing and the complete orchestra for their talent that they have, and keep up the good work. And don't forget, tickets are on sale for Fiddler on the Roof, and I just want to extend my best wishes and happy holidays to everyone out there.
Yeah, Scotty, I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I could have asked for a vote tonight on that, the money, but I want to be transparent with the 7 days like we agreed on with our policy. But I would love to have it on the agenda for next month for a vote. For the $2,600, $2,700 for the children, for this, for the hockey team. Thank you.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, the electrical work that I've talked about continues to go forward. We expect that to be completed in about a month. The plumbing work we expect to be completed today or tomorrow. And the work that needs to be done in terms of generating information to secure the refunds is also currently in progress. The 17-18 budget, capital budget, is pretty much wrapped up and done. Everybody did a good job. The 18-19 capital budget has also been worked up by the committee, and that's in pretty good shape too, and it's been included in, correct, Paul, in our annual budget.
That'll be separate budget.
But yeah, it's been worked up and it's prepared to be brought forward for a vote by the end of June. So buildings and grounds activity going along just fine. Now I'd like to respond to the comments that were made regarding me and the rabbi. Let me begin by saying that my attempt to interject a small amount of levity into a private conversation that I was part of that took place in a public setting was nothing more than an attempt to bring a little levity to what was otherwise a tense and difficult conversation. One of the comments that you made was that you had not received anything from me in response to the letter that the rabbi sent me on the 13th. Well, in fact, I have been pondering that question. And since you indicated that my failure to respond is some sort of an affront to you and your organization, I'll make sure that I get that response out to you, and I'll get it out quickly because it's already been drafted. When I read the letter of the 13th, I think, when it came in, I have to tell you that I found that letter to be purposeful in its effort to misconstrue my comments. I found it self-centered, I found it arrogant, and I found it close to libelous. You took offense because I called you Barb and not Rabbi. Who writes a letter and criticizes someone for not addressing them with their organizational title? I've never run into that, but you apparently felt that was important. And the only thing I can assume from your letter with respect to that is that you judge yourself to be superior to me. Perhaps it's because you're a Jew, or perhaps it's because you, I would appreciate you wouldn't laugh when I'm speaking. Yes, you are. I take it that you either felt you were superior to me because you're Jewish, or perhaps because you've attained a certain level within your organization. Well, let's be clear. I completely reject that. Then you went on to criticize me because I think, as you said, I mocked the garb of your organization. I made a small, lighthearted comment about one element, and you took that and construed it to be an attempt to mock your garb of your organization. That's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Then you went on to somehow connect my comments to you, which probably took no more than 3 seconds, to be somehow tied to a national anti-Semitic movement? That's absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And unsupportable. You then went in to criticize me with respect to my duties as an elected official. Well, I think I've carried out my duties rather well as an elected official. And my suggestion to you would be, Rabbi, that you tend to your flock and I'll tend to mine. I also want to point you to something that's, is there something again funny about what I'm saying?
Disappointing.
No. Yeah, well, you're disappointing to me too.
That's fine.
Extremely disappointing. That you would come out and criticize in a public setting my lighthearted comment to her and construe it as some broad anti-Semitic attack. It's nonsense. It's never.
Your comment was anti-Semitic.
Please
It
be.
was.
You don't have the floor. I have the floor. Okay. Let me be clear about it. No, you've had your chance to talk. This is my chance to talk. You're not going to have a chance to respond because the meeting will be over. That's how this works. Okay?
Order.
I guess so.
You're correct. I'm going to direct you to one final element, and that is the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to direct you to Article 1. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion, and so on and so forth, prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And then I'm going to direct you to Article 4 of the Constitution. The last 20 words or so are as follows. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification of any office or public trust under the United States. I think those are particularly applicable. So, in summary, you're not going to get an apology from me. I deserve one from you. Thank you. That's it. Thanks.
Ms. Cerrucci.
I have nothing.
Good luck following that.
Thank you.
Rabbi, I apologize for the other evening. At the time, I didn't know what your relationship was with Steve. You know, if you were friends with him or not. That's why I didn't say anything. But please accept my apology. And at this time, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.
Yeah.